Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is August the 15th. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation. This is our H.O.O.D recovery services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you. Let's go ahead and get into our Just for Today in a meditation for August the 15th. All right. It is entitled Over Time, Not Overnight. We found that we do not recover physically, mentally, or spiritually overnight. Taken from the basic text, page 28. Have you ever approached a recovery celebration with the feeling that you should be further along in your recovery than you are? Maybe you have listened to newcomers sharing in meetings, members with much less clean time and thought, but I'm just barely beginning to understand what they're talking about. It's odd that we should come into recovery thinking that we will feel wonderful right away or no longer have any difficulty handling life's twists and turns. We expected our physical problems to correct themselves, our thinking to become rational, and a fully developed spiritual life to manifest itself overnight. We forget that we spent years abusing our bodies, numbing our minds, and suppressing our awareness of a higher power. We cannot undo the damage in a day. We can, however, apply this next step, going to the next meeting, help the next newcomer. We heal and recover bit by bit, not overnight, but over time. Just for today, my body will heal a little, my mind will become a little clearer, and my relationship with my higher power will strengthen. That's a beautiful inner meditation. It's a just one. It's one that talks about the reality of sometimes it really actually magnifies our disease of addiction, right? Because we always wanted what we wanted when we wanted it, right? We always were looking for instant gratification. And so the suggestion here in this meditation is that we come into recovery and we still are gauging ourselves by what feels good, what looks good. I don't sound like other people do. I don't have the level of recovery that other people do. We still have that mentality that we need to attain recovery overnight. I mean, we got high in an instant, right? But we didn't get to the depths of our disease of addiction overnight. It took time. And so, by the same token, it's going to take time for us to dig ourselves out of that. But what is important is that we're willing. What is important is that we're clean today. What is important is that we're tackling these things one day at a time. We're willing to show up to grow up. That's what is important. And I want you to remember that today as you go through your day. And if any kind of doubt comes into your mind, thinking, I should have this by now, I shouldn't still be wrestling with this by now. Based on what? Based on what? What are you basing that on? Are you basing it on, just the reality of the fact that you've come and gone in the program? Okay, so in that sense, that might be a true statement. Maybe you would be further along in your steps if you had stayed last year instead of relapsing, right? So that is a reality. But beyond that, I mean, seriously, are you doing what you need to do today to recover? As you recognize spiritual principles or issues that you don't understand, and you can see the effects of the lack of understanding, are you willing to get the understanding? Are you willing to show up at step study meetings, tradition study meetings? Are you willing to be present when these topics are being discussed so that you can get a greater understanding? Are you willing to meet with your sponsor? Are you willing to take your sponsor's suggestions? And if you don't understand the reason for the suggestion, are you willing to ask why are you making this suggestion? What is it that makes you think doing thus and so at this point in time is going to improve my life and my recovery? So we have to remember that this is a program that has been written. The wheel is not broken. Thousands, if not millions, have benefited from this program. And so we don't have to come into it with the mindset that we need to disagree with everything that is suggested. We have to come with the mind's eye that if this has been working for all these people all this time, and I'm just getting here, and their experience, strength, and hope is showing me that through the application of the program to my life or their life, that it's working, what reason do I have to believe that it will not work for me? I'll tell you what happens. I think that we still suffer, like I said, the disease of addiction is still operating when we think that it's all about ourselves, right? We are still thinking that we're the exception and not the rule. When it comes to the disease of addiction, it pretty much looks similar for everyone. The drug might change, but the behavior is pretty much the same, right? You pick it up, you think you have control of it, you think you're having a good time. Before you know it, the feeling of euphoria dies off. You need some more, you get some more, you use up all of your finances trying to get that next one. And then you begin to start the bartering process, right? How can you get it without having to pay for it? And you start to trade off your soul, your body, right? Or somebody else's soul and body, someone else's money that you stole, right? Or you start to steal things so that you can get the money to get the next one. That usually ends in one of three ways: jails, institutions, or death, and not in that order. So, I mean, we're unique as individuals because we're uniquely created. But when it comes to the disease of addiction, it looks similar for most people. That's just like, someone having cancer. If a person said, I have breast cancer, and another one said, I have ovarian cancer, and then another one says, I have lung cancer. The first question, most people are going to wonder, what stage? Because now they're trying to figure out if you're terminal or not. Okay, so if you say stage 4, then there's all these other stages that lead to that in your terminal, right? Cancer is aggressive, but not all cancers are aggressive at the same rate. Just like the disease of addiction is aggressive, but it's not at the same rate for everyone. People reach their bottoms at different levels. So the recovery that you're seeking, right? The recovery that you're seeking often depends on to the depths of your bottom. The depths of your disease of addiction will help determine a lot of times how desperate, how much of the gift of desperation you actually have, and whether or not you come in, hit the ground running or not. Or are you just okay not to be using and have a job? Some people just working a regular job and having a real check that they have to cash is enough for them, right? Maybe a car or something. But if you're on the bus line, people are fine with, city transportation as well. Some people don't really want more than that. And that's not my business, and it's not yours either. But for some people, they do want more. They want to understand what allowed them to even pick up the first one. What defects of character are they dealing with today? Right? How do they negate positive relationships with their lack of faith and self-doubt and low self-esteem? Okay, those people that are interested in that kind of stuff, they generally come in and are ready to do the work. They're curious. They want to be able to identify this beast when it comes back up and say, not this time. You got me all 40 years, you got me, but not this time. You will not get me this time. So to the depths of one's disease of addiction and the strength of the gift of desperation often determines the level or the speed at which a person will recover. It's just like being in a hospital. If you go into a hospital for, let's say if you go into the hospital and you have to have a breast removed, or you have to have a portion of your lung removed, or your complete lung removed, right? That surgery looks a lot different than having your tonsils taken out. Right? It makes sense now, right? It makes sense because tonsillitis, okay, so now you're going to have your tonsils taken out. That looks a lot different than having a whole organ that your life is, most people depend upon to live, removed. The recovery for a person that is having a leg amputated is different than a person that is having surgery for glaucoma and they have to wear a patch over their eye and put salve on their eye. That recovery looks a lot different than a person that has the leg amputated. Will they both have to have some sort of physical therapy? Probably so. But maybe the one for the eye is not going to be as intense as the one without the leg anymore. So the point is that everyone has to recover, and everyone is going to recover at different rates. And your recovery, I guarantee you, is not going to look anything like my recovery. But there will be some similarities. Our disease of addiction was very similar, right? And so we want to get away from comparing ourselves to other people. We want to step away from that, because if you live in that bubble of constant comparison, if you're not feeling very mentally healthy that particular day that you're doing that type of comparison, you're going to beat yourself up pretty bad. You're going to beat yourself up pretty bad. But if you're feeling pretty excellent that day, you might encourage yourself very well. But either way, big I's and little U's don't work for anyone, right? We want to get to the point where we have some consistency. I love that word, just saying it, consistency. We want to have that consistency in our recovery, where we give ourselves room to experience the journey and still keep the journey in motion. You know, some sponsors are, when they have their sponsees go through steps, they say, now I just want you to sit in this step for a month, and then we'll pick up on step 2. I'm just kind of like, if you are actually going to do the step, I'm interested in doing it with you. And if we walk away from that step and I see that you understand the application of it in your life, there's no reason for you to not start writing on that step, that next step. There's no reason for me to hold you up, right? You know, I had a friend of mine that I was sponsoring. I was sponsoring a lady. I call her a friend now because I'm not sponsoring her anymore, but there's a lady that I used to sponsor, and she got all the way up into, she was well into the last 3 steps, put it like that. And COVID hit and she relapsed. I think I've heard from her maybe once or twice. I had a family member get shot and I heard from her. But can you imagine taking like 20 years or more to get it? and then to get it and to establish some clean time, like maybe 4 years, 3, 4 years clean, and you're well into your steps. And then just one day, your mind is not operating on all 4 cylinders, and you make a wrong decision, and then everything that you've done is wiped away. And it's not like it's wiped away in the sense that you don't have the experience of that, but now you're not battling whether or not you're going to meet with your sponsor and do step work. You're battling whether or not you're going to be able to get clean again, right? And I think it's been at least 2 years. Man, this is such a gift. That's why when we talk about gratitude, you know, we never seen a grateful addict use. Right? When we talk like that, it's not saying that we don't have periods of lack of gratitude. We all do. But if your gratitude for your recovery is higher, greater than your desire to pick up in that moment, you're going to hold on to the gratitude. That's why it's very good to have that permanent list of things you're grateful for, always accessible. You can shove it right in front of, you can write it in the back of your book, or you put your list right in front of recovery and relapse. These are just little tricks that I've learned over my span of recovery that has helped me. I'm getting excited. I'm going to end our podcast right there, just to remind you that it took a while for your body to heal from whatever trauma. It's going to take a while for your mind to do the same. And your relationship with your higher power will also increase as you continue to recover and get better. You know how it is in surgery, and they let the families know on that board at the hospital, pre-op, and then in surgery, in recovery, right? They always list your 4-digit number and what stage you're in so your family can know. When you're in recovery, they don't let people just come back if you have not awakened, right? When the anesthesia has worn off and you have some sense of self and clarity, they will invite your family member to come back and sit with you. Okay? And so the point is that there's a lot of things we want overnight, but we haven't allowed ourselves to go through the surgery stage of cutting away the things that we no longer need, and the healing stage of coming back to ourselves in recovery, so that now we have a sense of our being before we start engaging other people. We need to give ourselves time. And when we say give time, I really mean that. I think that we need to allow ourselves to heal and benefit from the process of recovery. Now, I am going to be celebrating 29. I always have to remind myself, 29 years clean, August 28th. So I am very much excited about watching the days tick away and feeling very strong in my recovery with every day. And I want to thank each of you for listening. I'm going to stop the share now, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.